All right, hello and welcome. How's everyone doing on what I am sure is a fantastic June 17th? It's been a fun week for me. Got back from youth camp. I'm a leader, one of the leaders at my church's youth group. Had a great time. Um, you know, only almost lost a couple kids, so good trip. Awesome trip even. Jeff, how
You
how have you
lost,
been?
you lost, you lost a couple kids?
No, almost lost,
Almost,
and a
almost. Well,
couple
that's
leaders.
almost as bad.
But it's not as bad. Uh, no, so it's been so rainy in Texas this year that we get down there and it's just super muggy, and the kids don't realize that when you're in high humidity, you like you lose water faster than you think you are. You're getting dehydrated faster than you realize,
Right.
and just breathing in a humid atmosphere, it takes a little extra effort. I've noticed, like just the oppressiveness of the heat, the air going into your lungs, like you gotta just a little bit deeper. And so they failed to take that into account, despite the fact that I've gotten the nickname of Camp Dad because like I got my cargo shorts on. I got a backpack that's filled up with water and sunscreen and bug spray and just everything they need. I'm running around trying to keep these kids alive, and like, you just gotta eat. Whatever it is, just eat something for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, because you're burning off all the calories. I find kids and they're drinking vitamin water, and they're like, "Well, I don't like eggs for breakfast, so I got vitamin water, and that counts." And then they're wondering like, "Why am I out of energy, Mister Matt?" Well, maybe it's because you're out of food. Like, come on, kids. Uh,
Oh,
and then we had one, bless his heart. He drank 4 Celsius on the first day. Celsius is an energy drink, extreme caffeine. Two of them has the maximum amount of caffeine you should ever have in a single day. He had four
and he
of them,
drank four. Oh my goodness.
and he had two
And you
coffees.
weren't watching.
Yeah, I missed this one. Uh,
Oh
and
dear.
they have a coffee shop. You can get yourself a little frappuccino or a smoothie or something. Drink two of them on top of the 4 Celsius, and so the next day he was just out,
Wow.
just laid out.
Wow.
But he made it. He learned from his
For
bad
you.
choices. But it was fun. Every year I end up hanging out with a different grouping of these kids, and I get to know more about them, and they just open up because it's a East Texas, Texas. No, it's more South Texas. That we head to like a little north of San Antonio, kind of between San Antonio, Houston area. Um, I guess if you made a triangle of San Antonio, Houston, and Austin, that's kind of the area we're in, and it's a great time. But we have them on the bus for like 4 hours, and so I just take the time to walk around, talk to the kids, get to know them, and it's such a different environment than we're all here Sunday morning and we got like an hour, and we don't want to spend it with you, Matt. We want to spend it with the guys, with the kids our age, which is 100% understandable. So being on this trip, I love getting out with these kids and get to invest in their lives and see what's going on with them.
That's very cool, but you should do a little better job, Matthew, paying attention so you don't almost lose anyone.
I should, and with the leaders, same thing. They didn't drink enough water. I think one of them got a cold, uh, and so I get back, and I spend the next couple days with a kind of stuffed up nose and sleeping on the couch because you gotta sleep propped up like that, which was a fun change of pace. Usually I'm on the couch because I mouthed off. You know.
Why am I not surprised?
No, no. Amy's never sent me to the couch, except for like when I'm sick and having problems breathing, and that's more of a Matthew, please go sleep on the couch, get a good night's sleep, and not a Matthew, get out here. Uh, Hey, Anna Carter, how you doing? Glad you're here with us tonight. Yeah, only almost. There's a difference between completely losing a kid and only mostly losing a kid. And thankfully, we only mostly or halfway, partially, lost some kids.
Thomas says you probably did lose some kids. You're just not telling us.
Well, okay, I'd be more likely. Okay, you guys, everyone's well aware of the fact that I am really bad with faces and names, right? Like, there's no.
No.
I know. It's crazy, right? Like, you'd never expect this. I mean, I'm always on top of these names. I've never called a Lucas Lewis. We got Dolores here on Battlestar Galactica.
San Antonio 9?
San Antonio 9. Exactly. So some of the kids asked me to do a zip line, and I don't like heights. When I was young, I was okay with heights. Now that I'm older, I hate heights. And this coming from someone who part of the things I've had to do professionally is climb up these huge sand silos and, perform maintenance on the top of it for these level sensors up there.
Right.
And I hate it, but you do it anyway. And so one of the important things about being on top of these sand silos is that you don't jump off of them. Like it's kind of, one of the fundamental truths. And so I'm like, these kids are like, please, Mr. Matt, please do this thing with us. And I'm like, okay, look, I will go up there with y'all. I'll give it a fair go. I'm probably coming back down this ladder without any shame. And at the bottom, it's like, hey, maximum weight limit 230, and I'm 220. And so I get to the top, and the kids in front of us jump off, and the entire structure sways back and forth at the top.
Goodness.
And I say, no, Mr. Matt's going back down this ladder with zero fear. Like and right before the top, they have a Bible verse, and it says, set your mind on the things above, not the things below, which I thought a little too on the nose for about to jump off this tower. So I go back down, no shame. They try to shame me. I'm like, no, kids, no. You know what? If I'm below 200 next year, I'll give it a fair go. The worst thing they can do, they bring me to the ledge and say, just stand here for a minute. And that was the mistake. Like, if they just kind of pushed me a little bit, like I would have gone, but they had me wait. But I'll give it a go. So I get down off there. I get changed because they also have a pool there, and I much prefer swimming. And then I'm putting all my stuff away in this cubby, and this random girl is like, hi there. And I look at her, and I go, are you one of my students? And the answer was no. No, she was not one of my students. She was just a fellow leader trying to be polite, get to know the other, because it wasn't just our church. It was several churches at this camp together.
Okay.
And, she was just trying to get to know the other leaders, and I made her feel incredibly embarrassed that I took a solid 5 seconds staring at her. I'm like, I'm sorry, I gotta know, are you one of my students? Because I can't tell. So fun stuff.
What are we gonna do with you?
I don't know.
What are we gonna do with you?
I know. And then Jeff pointed out, everyone, that I'm wearing a Star Trek shirt. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Fueling the fire.
Like I wasn't trying to stir up controversy. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna wear. Here's a shirt. I can put it on. It's not too hot. It's comfortable. It has a little decoration on it. I don't know.
Just
I don't know.
Starfleet communication badge. There's no harm with that, right?
So I don't know where I put my brain. My wife doesn't know where I put my brain most days. It's a struggle.
Omni says that is not the symbol of the Earth Alliance.
It's not. No, it's not. Yeah, Amy's saying, I wonder the same thing often, Jeff. What are we going to do with him? I don't know. I tell everyone, I am so thankful for Amy because I know I'm a difficult man to live with. And the fact that she has put up with me for 14 years now.
Oh, my goodness. You're a saint, Amy.
She is. She is.
Welcome, John.
So everyone, let's kick off this episode. This episode is TKO.
Well, before we do, I just want to say, Matthew,
Yeah.
that I had a kind of a rough week last week, and
Oh,
I'm kind of glad you were not able to do Babylon 5 because I'm not sure I could have done Babylon 5 last week. I had a good friend that was actually in the hospital, and I
oh
couldn't get a hold
no.
of her. I had no idea she was in the hospital, but she's out of the hospital now. She's home and she's recovering, and I'm
What
very glad for
happened?
that. Um, well, she had um, uh, oh, my mind is going blank now. I'm having a Matthew moment.
It comes from
But
hanging out with me too much.
she took her son to the hospital. He was going in for a procedure, and while she was waiting for him to come out, she collapsed and uh, went unconscious. And actually, she died. They had to
Oh
recover
no.
her. Yeah,
Like straight up heart attack
and
then.
not a heart attack, but yeah, she lost all vitals, and they had to shock her and bring her back. And she was in the hospital for several days, and
Whoa.
she was actually in a coma for a couple days. That's why I couldn't get a hold of her.
Okay,
I had
this is
no idea what
crazy.
was going on.
Um, my pastor when had a defib heart attack where they had to shock him on Friday or Saturday last week.
Wow.
Like he
Well, this happened Monday,
okay.
last
That's
Monday.
crazy. Like I know people have heart attacks or you know, have to be shocked. Like this is a common thing, but it's crazy that both of us had someone we know going through like the same sort of thing where they had to shock him. He was in a coma. He's not my current pastor. He's a pastor of the church I grew up with and the sending church because I'm part of a church plant, and so he's the pastor of the church that planted us. I think that's the terminology. But man, I'm glad your friend is okay because that's such a crazy dangerous thing.
Me too.
Did
Um,
did they
like
have to
like I
do any
said,
surgery or?
no surgery, but she, like I said, she's home now, and her two sons are taking care of her, good care of her. So I just want to shout out to Jordan and Daniel for helping their mom, and they're still helping her recover. So that's great. And also want to shout out to Jordan because he has a birthday coming up in 1 week. I don't
Oh,
know if we're going to be
nice.
doing Babylon 5 next Monday, but that's his birthday next Monday. So
And
happy birthday, Jordan.
see, is have I mentioned next Monday? Are you thinking of something?
You haven't, but
Okay.
I don't know. I don't
See,
know.
I would
You
not at
haven't
all be
mentioned anything,
surprised if
so
you knew my schedule better than I did. But
probably Amy could tell us if you're going to be out of town next Monday.
no, I should be here next Monday. Yeah, yeah, we're good. But yeah, like Amy said, I'm glad she's home, and yeah, definitely kudos to her boys for stepping up and helping
Thank you,
take care of
Amy.
her.
Absolutely.
Josh, if I say I'm gonna skip another Monday, I'm fired. No, there is a Monday toward the end of July, I think, that I'll be out of town, but that's like a solid month away. Um, I got some work coming up that's gonna be weekend work. It's I go to these factories and they don't want to be shut down. When you're shut down, you're losing money. Totally understand. So uh, they have to schedule the shutdowns for the weekend. So, it's going to be a Saturday, Sunday, 12-hour days for like 4 weeks in a row. But that's Saturday, Sunday. So I'll be back on Monday. We'll be good.
Terrific.
Teddy's
And I see
saying,
we have a
wait,
slam against Babylon 5 in the chat by Mr. Lundell. He says the com
what?
badge is kind of cool, better than any of that B5 stuff.
Do I look insane?
Oh, gosh.
Hey, you
I
didn't
love that
tell
man.
Amy.
No,
Darling,
I'm laughing
no.
because someone sent a super chat, and I love the little. Do you not get to hear those? Did I not set that up right? I gotta get that fixed.
I can't hear him. I don't know if they can hear him on YouTube or not.
I gotta get that fixed so you can hear it. But it's one of my favorite ones. It's the one where uh, William Shatner in the Twilight episode, there's a man on the wing.
Yes.
He says, "Do I look
20,000
crazy
feet
to you?" And then it cuts to the TOS episode where he's screaming, "I'm Captain Kirk!" The one where he got split in two. Oh, is your friend Anna? Is she in the
Yes.
chat? Hey!
She is.
And do I have a friend named Amy and a wife named Amy? Yes. I have a friend named Amy. I have my wife is named Amy, and I have a cousin named Amy, and a step cousin named Amy, and
Wow.
yes, they are all from the era of the '80s, and that was just a popular name back then. So it was the name. Amy's and Matthews. We dominated the '80s.
I guess so.
So
But Amy said something about news to her.
it shouldn't be news to her. She knows all the Amy's.
She said, "Now that info, I didn't know." LOL.
Amy at least knew the two cousins. Oh, the weekend info. Yes.
Perhaps because you were
weekend
talking
info.
about that when that popped up.
See, unfortunately, my mind doesn't think things organizationally. Like Amy, like I'll have a conversation, and Amy will say, "Oh, well, did you talk about anything interesting?" I go, "No, no, no, no." "Oh yeah, there's this incredibly interesting thing that happened." And she's like, "Oh yeah, that was interesting. What else?" "Oh, nothing else." And then like 2 days go by. I'm like, "Oh, by the way, this incredibly interesting thing happened in that conversation you asked about that I just completely forgot about." So it's rough on her, but at the same time, it just keeps interesting little conversations happening for weeks. Am I sure they're all named Amy and I'm not just messing up their names? No. No, I'm not confident at all. Yeah, see no evil. Okay, guys, TKO. I made a prediction 2 weeks ago about this, and that prediction was I have no prediction.
Well, you did have a prediction. I wrote it down.
Okay,
Actually, I typed it out.
it was a rougher prediction. Like
Yeah.
it
So,
it was about Ivanova, wasn't it? That's where I landed on in the end.
yeah, you said it would be an Ivanova-centric episode. Someone from her past that's shady would show up. And you said that Garibaldi would make a comment about, getting knocked down but not staying down in a technical knockout.
And that's what the TKO meant. Thomas told us last time, because I'm like triple knockout or total knockout, technical knockout. Thank you.
Right.
So yeah, and I do remember that I said this, and I made some caveats as I do because I'm an engineer. That's kind of been the theme of season 1, which is fine. Like I think this works. That they bring in someone from the past, you get to know more about that character, and they are the ones that kind of drive the plot, or at least the B plot line for that episode. And so you're right, John. I did forget to read the last donation. Hold on, I'll do it in just 1 second. I'll do it in a second.
I'll remind you if we need to.
Even though we've already had an Ivanova episode where she had some from her past, which I think it was just her dad. I don't think we've had a second. Well,
we did.
We did.
We did.
We had her dad episode. And then we had I can't remember. I remember
we had a former boyfriend show up, and he was trying to recruit people on the station to assassinate the ambassadors.
Yes. Okay. So yes, we've had 2 of them, but I feel like, I don't know, based on what we've done for season 1, I feel like that's going to continue to be kind of the thread that runs true. She has 4 dads. Which one? I don't think that's accurate, Thomas, but I don't know. I don't know. Now, Joe Biden sent a donation, and to honor him, I forgot about it immediately and started to do something else. What it said was, "You seem perfectly fine to me, Mary. You are a great Boy Scout leader. Have a great weekend. Helkaroga, number 22." Oh. One of these days I need to go back and find what number 22 was and see if Michael wouldn't mind if I played it, because that's the second time number 22 has been requested, and I think that would
I
be
think Joe
hilarious.
Biden always asks for
Yeah.
22.
Text saying, "Ooh, burn." Is it though? Is it? LDG says, "What about my previous inquiry?" Let me scroll up here, LDG, because I have been my usual bad self about reading chats. Saying we needed some
Well,
more
I'm gonna,
BS5. Any chance of doing 2 episodes a week, even if on 2 different days, like a Monday or Thursday or something? Unfortunately, Mondays are the day that Jeff and I have for doing Babylon 5. Like, just both our schedules, today was it. And I'm glad it works for both of us to do it today. There might be, if in the natural order of events, there was a double header episode. Like the pilot, I think, was a two-part episode, or a double length.
it was double length. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's a double length episode that occurs, or they did a double feature, so to speak, where they did episode 1, then episode 2 right after it, we'll do it. We're gonna stick to the production schedule. And yes, unfortunately, that means I do fall behind, simply because we miss weeks here and there. But it's okay. We'll get through them all eventually.
I don't think they had anything like that. The closest they came were the TV films,
Mm-hmm.
which will have a few, like in season 4 and 5.
Awesome. So let's get this episode started. Let's see. Let me pull up our clips here. There we are. I'm sure you all know this, but just in case this is your first time, here's the way it works. You can click on the link I got pinned over in the chat, wherever it is for you, and this will take you to the screening room. It syncs up all of our watch times so that you can watch this live during this stream, and this stream only. If you're watching at some point in the future, or you're on your cell phone or something where you can't pull up 2 windows, we got you covered. We're going to display a clip from the episode. 1 clip every 7 to 10 seconds is what it comes out to, just so you can have a frame of reference for what's going on. Now, the highly superior way than watching it in the watch room, I think, is to go out and buy a physical copy of the Blu-ray discs. They're on Amazon regularly for like $75, and you get all 5 seasons, and I think the television episodes too, perhaps? Maybe
No.
not those.
No.
Just the 5
Just
seasons.
just the pilot on top of the 5 seasons.
So it's still, I mean, $75, 5 seasons. What does that come out to? There's a 1 to $15 a season-ish? Something like that.
Pretty close. Yeah.
So,
it is $74.99. I just checked it on the Amazon listing.
yeah, so highly worth it. If you don't want to spend the money, I understand. You can watch it on Amazon. I think they have ads now, to be honest. It's with Amazon Prime. No, you have to buy it on Amazon. Yeah. You can buy it on Amazon and watch it without ads. Or you can watch it with ads on Tubi TV. And of course, you can always buy it on like Google and Apple and all those sort of things. But if you're going to buy them, buy the physical copies would 100% be the way I recommend doing it.
That's what I did.
So with all that out of the way, go ahead, join us in the screening room. And if you're watching this later, I'll give you a quick 3 countdown. I'll count to 3, then go, click play on the go, and we'll all be synced up within like a second or 2, right? So here we go. 3, 2, 1, hit that play button. And as always, anyone except Josh Street, please let me know if there is audio coming in with what's happening.
The episode is not playing real well on SciTube.
Interesting. But let me know if it clears out for
Is
you.
it playing for you?
Yeah, it's playing fine for me.
Okay, let me reload it.
Now, I believe this actor, the rabbi, is he played on TNG as Worf's dad for like one episode. But
No, that's not him.
that's not him?
No.
Okay. I saw an old photo of him. I thought that was gonna be him. Oh, look out, Garibaldi. Oh, I was close but no cigar. It wasn't Ivanova's old friend, it was Garibaldi's. Which, this guy, he appeared...
I take it back. It
appeared
is
not
him.
in Star Trek, but he did appear in one of my other favorite series of all time, sci-fi series, 7 Days. He was just a one-off character in one of the episodes, as I recall. But if you ever want a good sci-fi series about time travel, 7 Days is fantastic.
It is. Very good show.
But he's heard something about Garibaldi.
And for some reason, I had it paused. So I wasn't getting any audio, and I was getting like a frame every 5 seconds or so on
Oh, okay, as
SciTube.
it caught you back up.
Yeah. But it's playing now for me.
Hey, so are you sure that wasn't the rabbi? Wasn't the dad?
It is him. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was mistaken.
I was thinking he looks so much like Worf's dad. I mean, I know I'm somewhat face blind, but I didn't think I was that bad.
For some reason, when I was doing look up on this episode, his name didn't come up for me.
Oh.
Not sure why. Might have just missed it.
And one thing I never realized about Worf's dad is that he plays the submarine captain in The Enemy Below.
Oh.
Which is the movie that was the inspiration for the TOS episode. It's the one where they're doing the battle with the Romulans. The Romulans keep cloaking. I'm blanking on the name. You know the episode I'm talking about. It goes, in another life, you and I could have been friends. Balance of Terror. Thank you, Texas.
Balance of Terror. Yeah.
So Balance of Terror, if you haven't watched Enemy Below, go watch Enemy Below after this, because it is like just a shot for shot remake. The whoever did that episode of TOS loved this movie and did a great job adapting it. No, Thomas, not Way to Eden.
Not Way to Eden.
But the Worf's dad and the rabbi, he was the U-boat captain for Germany, and he said he really loved playing it because he actually was a German, and he said it was the first time since World War II that a German had been portrayed as anything other than absolutely evil, and it meant so much to him to play this role.
It's a book.
A physical book.
Yeah.
Where's your data pad?
I guess she likes real books. I like her style.
And yeah, John, I did say Bickle was the sub-captain. Oh, he does, like, I missed it and I got it. Okay, nice. I thought that it was only going to be Garibaldi who knew someone from the past in this episode.
But is the rabbi shady?
We'll find out. I assume everyone from their past is shady, to be fair.
Oh, wow.
Like, with the exception of Jeff's first girlfriend that we meet, the captain's girlfriend. everyone we've met has been somewhat shady.
Hmm.
The Psy-Core ladies, teacher slash boyfriend. He wasn't too shady.
Well, I don't know. He was her mentor, her teacher, and then he has a relationship with her. Mm,
Hopefully afterwards. Hopefully afterwards. Oh, Texas, you're right. I'm talking about Catherine, the one that
uh,
we saw in the TV series and not the pilot.
yeah, Sakai, Catherine Sakai is in the series.
Oh, I got it wrong. Well, I don't think anyone's gonna be surprised by that, John. Apparently, Bickle was in the film Enemy Below, but the captain was played by Kurt Jurgens. Which I looked it up, and like everything it showed was of the captain. I'm like, no way! I had no idea they don't look that similar. But you know me, I'm like, oh, I'm wrong. But I was wrong about being wrong, and became more wrong. It's wrong all the way down.
It is all wrong.
So Garibaldi's old friend is a boxer,
Yep.
and uh, what we're finding out is that he had a shot at the title, but the people who organized the boxing federation, they said it's not your time, don't fight. So he went ahead and deferred his fight, and it came back to haunt him.
Now, his character's name is Walker Smith. Now, this is a nice callback because Walker Smith is the real name for Sugar Ray Robinson, who was a famous boxer back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Oh, okay. So he's the Garibaldi's friend, Walker Smith, is here because he wants to get in the ring. Apparently, there's some boxing ring here on Babylon 5, and Garibaldi's trying to warn him, like, no, this isn't what you're thinking. It's just a meat grinder.
Yeah, it's called the Muay.
I didn't realize her first name was Susan.
You didn't know her first name was Susan. Wow.
It's always Ivanova. I thought Ivanova was her first name. But no, the rabbi just said, I'm here to talk about Susan of the Ivanova family. I'm like, oh, okay. And this is a nice callback. He's here because Susan's, apparently, dad died. And this is, I mean, yeah, John, Lieutenant Commander Ivanova. Yeah, you know. Or that, like Spock. The first name is the last name, that's enough. Uh, but this is something nice in the way that serial format would have worked back in the day. They're spending just a minute here giving the highlights of her history that we've had in past episodes. Because, you know, we didn't binge watch it on streaming services. We had to wait, was this 13 weeks now between these episodes?
Yeah, since the first episode, 13
Yeah.
weeks, it's 14th episode. And
So-
probably longer than that because, you know, they took breaks periodically throughout the season. So we learned that Ivanova is Jewish.
which works. Um,
I think so.
what's the name? There's a specific name for uh the Russian Jews. Something with an A, I think, like in real life. Um, or not necessarily Russian Jews, but Jews who grew up in that Slavic area. Maybe someone in chat can remember, but I mean, historically it works. But he's asking that Ivanova gets a couple days off to observe the correct mourning for her dad.
For a dad.
And I miss it when he was talking about his mom, or excuse me, her mom, uh, and talking about how strained it was. Did he say that Ivanova didn't perform the ritual for the mom because of the estrangement, or was that just a quick recap, like, oh, and hey, remember her mom was also dead?
I don't think they said anything about that. Ashkenazi Jews?
Yes.
I don't know if I got the pronunciation correct.
Hey, Lancer, how you doing tonight?
And John just repeated it as well in chat. Thank you, John.
And Texas is saying, I thought they did say Spock had a first name at one point. It's just humans could never pronounce it. Maybe? I felt like that would have been like an early episode thing.
I believe it was.
Yeah, Lancer, Spock's first name is Skywalker. Everyone's a Skywalker now. I like that response. So she's upset that uh, he he went to the commander to talk about this issue, and she goes, "Well, you should have done that." He goes, "I'm a rabbi. That's what I do." But she's very upset because she says her dad always tried to control her life, and now that he's gone, she feels like the rabbi is trying to perform the same thing.
No, Thomas, I do not think he sounds Scottish.
Which, I mean, maybe we'll find out as the episode goes along. He is trying to do kind of the same thing, but at this point in the episode, I get the feeling that he's just trying to be loving and caring toward someone that he sees is in his flock and is kind of pushing out things instead of dealing with them. Oh, Omni, if you hadn't said that was Soon-Tek, I would not have gotten it. But Soon-Tek is, and that's probably not all how you pronounce his name, but he is an extremely famous Asian American actor who they misspelled his name in the credits of this episode. They spell his name Teck, and it's just Tek. But he's done things like Mulan and like just about everything from the 90s. If you needed kind of a wise sage character, he was in it. Highlander, um, Kung Fu, The Legend Continues, Beverly Hill Ninja, just all of it. Okay, have we seen someone who looks similar to this guy before, like someone of the same race?
I don't think so.
Like I could see them reusing someone's general uh, prosthetics and tweaking it slightly. So I don't mean like have we seen this specific alien, but just like anyone with the same kind of facial structure.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Maybe as a background character, perhaps, but
So this is something I wonder how much that actually happens um, in military organizations. Like if you have a good rapport with your commander, let's say, where he gives you the option to have some time off to deal with some mental issue, some spiritual issue, whatever the case may be, and they say no, like how often do you think the commander actually steps in again and says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 you need to do this. You're not dealing with the trauma." Or do you think it's more like, okay, they said no?
I guess it depends on the posting, what their mission is, that sort of thing.
And yeah, Omni, Sinclair is very compassionate. He's
Yeah.
he's striking
Okay.
this interesting balance between compassion and punching in this first season. Like I guess the thing is he's willing to knock someone out when they're putting the station at danger, but he goes out of his way to take care of his friends.
Well, we know he's a fighter pilot, and he was way down the list to command Babylon 5, but he got the position because the Membari insisted on him. So is he really commander material? He's doing the best he can, obviously.
Yeah.
But as a fighter pilot, as a captain of a fighter group, he's going to look out for the people that are under him, and that's what he's doing here with Ivanova. He's being a good friend to her. And
Thomas is
Thomas has
saying
fallen asleep for about the fourth time.
he's also saying Sinclair would have done anything to make Tuvix live.
I'm not sure about that, Thomas.
And it's interesting. So they talk about this place being a meat grinder, and Garibaldi's friend was a little bit chastened after being completely knocked out. But they come here, and it's basically MMA fighting.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that they would allow something like this on the station.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of described as a blood sport.
uh, what's the ultimate form of martial arts according to TNG? Riker and his dad play
Oh
it.
yeah, pretty
Something with an
silly
A.
if you ask me. Uh,
Eh,
I can never say it, so
Ambo Jitsu. Is that it?
that's it. Ambo
I,
Jitsu.
Omni put that in the chat.
He did. Thomas has fallen asleep again.
Not a big boxing fan, Thomas? Or MMA?
It's just he's not a fan of this episode.
Yeah, listen to the drums. I was also just thinking the sound effects guy must have felt so overworked after this episode. Just every kick and punch. Omni's saying that this beats the pants off Soon-Katsi. That's the one
It's a
with
Voyager episode.
Who played the? It was the Scorpion King guy, right? The Rock.
The Rock, yeah. Now I've seen comparisons of this episode with Rocky 4.
You know,
I've not seen Rocky 4. I've seen the first 3, but not subsequent movies.
I've only really ever seen the first one. Okay, so I'm not seeing what Garibaldi is so worried about. Like it's fighting. A little martial arty.
He's worried that his friend's going to get pulverized. Yes, Texas. That is the one where Rocky fights the Russian. Rocky 4.
Doesn't he fight a lot of Russians? Like I thought that was who he did in Rocky 2 as well. Like wasn't he really prideful at the beginning of Rocky 2?
I thought that was a rematch of the first film.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I only ever really watched the first one. Trevor Lauren is saying you're right. Rocky 2 was Apollo Creed again.
Yeah.
But they're feeling like this Earthling has no business in the Mutai, the Muto?
Mutai.
Mutai.
They do seem to be ganging up together against humans. They don't want humans involved at all. They seem to think that humans are just involving themselves in all the alien cultures and perverting them. They want to hold on to this.
Bit of concerns over cultural appropriation, one might say.
Yeah. I mean, they're concerned more about humans than any of the other aliens. So they just all gang together. Omni says they say humans don't respect alien traditions.
So Ivanova's explaining some of the details for the reason she's not willing to go through the ceremony with him for her dad. And you know, it's understandable. She's hurt. She was hurt. She wasn't hurt that her dad didn't prevent her mom from taking the medicine. She understands that was the law. But she's hurt that while her dad was dealing with his emotional issues that resulted from the mom having to take this medicine, he withdrew from being the father Ivanova needed. And it didn't change even after the mom died. The dad continued to remain distant and unloving toward her. At least unloving in her mind.
And I don't know if you noticed, she has a brother named Ganya, and he died in the Earth Minbari War.
I think they may have mentioned that in the past.
I don't remember it in the past, but they definitely mentioned it here.
And I like that because the exchanges just happened between the rabbi and Ivanova. Because, in Trek, often horrible things would happen, and then there'd be like zero repercussions for that. Because it was always serialized. You end the episode in the same basic condition as you began the episode. Or it wasn't serialized, excuse me, it was episodic.
Right.
And so having episodes or having writing where you get to see this character is suffering, and they're suffering for a really good reason. Like, it's entirely something I could relate to, where the dad is going through this issue, and even though he recognizes his family needs him, he's not in a place where he can provide that. He's just so bound up in his own problems. It's hard to get out of that mindset, out of that mind
Right.
space, and start helping. And then it's entirely
Uh,
reasonable on Ivanova's part to be like, and now I have problems from that. Yeah.
Omni says in chat, Susan joined Earth Force when Ganya died
Okay.
for his in memory of him. And her father was against that.
Hmm. I like how the rabbi is being respectful to this, that he's not trying to force her to have immediate forgiveness. That he is recognizing, like, yeah, forgiveness is a process and takes time. And
Now, this is a flashback to the prior episode. That was Born to the Purple that we saw this. And yes, John, Kato is like being a Kaddish.
so that's nice. She decides to go through the ceremony anyway. She remembers her dad's deathbed apology, and it's not everyone gets a chance to do that.
Oh, Josh, I was unaware. Did they cut a scene?
And I kind of like that this episode is establishing the idea that humans are, much like in Trek, kind of one of the weaker species, physically speaking.
Now, the ISN reporter here, she was in Star Trek. She played Lenore Kasdorf.
Oh.
I'm sorry, she played Lauren, the security minister of the Priet. That was in the episode Attached from TNG.
I had no idea.
She ordered the kidnapping of Picard and Crusher in that episode. Notice the Zima sign in the back.
Oh no,
Did
I
you catch
missed
that?
it.
It's been prominent throughout the episode when they've been in that set. The show received no money from Zima.
You're the best around. Nothing's ever gonna keep you down. Karate Kid. I mean, there's some similarities in all these plot lines. You know, Karate Kid, Rocky. Just the broad strokes there. You lose, you train, you win.
Now, Shiva usually lasts anywhere from 3 to 7 days, usually. But since the death took place several months ago, uh, the Shiva can actually last a shorter amount of time.
Now, do you know by any chance that the Shiva is something they created for Babylon 5, or is this actually a
No, it's
Jewish
part of
tradition?
Jewish tradition. It is part of Jewish tradition.
Very cool.
It's a real thing. You know, JMS is he's an atheist, but he
Hmm.
pays a lot of attention to religion in his writing.
And Omni's confirming it is Jewish tradition. And you know,
It is, yeah.
I am impressed with the way that Babylon 5 has handled religion so far.
It's done a very good job, I think.
And,
And if I
and
may
part of
say
this, I
so, I think
think,
it continues to do so.
I think part of this is that, at least in Star Trek, when TNG first kicked off in the late 80s, like there was an extremely anti-religion movement in sci-fi. And then by the time DS9 came around and Voyager, you know, religion was no longer like the enemy of humanism. Uh,
Oh,
Especially they kind of brought in more new agey things like Chakotay's Indian religion and
well, that was pretty fake. That's pretty fake.
yeah, yeah, and
Oh,
the Bajorans.
definitely with the Bajorans. Well, TNG started. Roddenberry had a lot of control, and he didn't want to write that for TNG.
Yeah,
And
I
then it
mean,
started to change, like late season 2 into season 3. You started to get elements of that. I mean, you had the Bajorans show up in TNG season 5.
I remember in the episode um, where Kirk is about to do a wedding ceremony, and there's a
Bounce of Terror
chaplain.
again.
Balanced Tarragon. Yeah, he Roddenberry was very upset that there would be such a thing as a chaplain in the Federation
Yeah.
because he was a firm believer that uh, the same way. I mean, the speech Picard made, where you know all basic humans go through religion, but as you evolve, you ditch religion, you ditch your gods. That was in the Proto Vulcan episode, I think. That was very much Roddenberry's belief.
See, I didn't read that episode like that at all.
Really? Picard literally made a statement like, "Oh, all primitive cultures believe in deities, but it is a natural part of evolution to grow beyond that."
See, I took it that he was saying that uh, cultures learn science and start to explain some of the things that are um, believed to be caused by deities, but they don't necessarily lose their religion over it. I don't know. I just have a different take on it, I guess.
Fair enough. I mean, I obviously take the opposite stance, but I get it. And I feel like I mean, we're kind of saying the same thing. Like the end result is
We are.
still, you move past religion. It's just what causes that. Is that there's an anti-religion thing, or is that science replaces it? And yeah, Texas, mad idolatry on the Orville was much more obvious with that being the message. Which it was admittedly one of my kind of weaker episodes in my opinion. Uh-oh.
Here comes the Chadich.
It's a good thing that guy really waited before pulling the trigger.
Yeah, really.
I guess they
Dramatic
are moving
effect.
around a lot in the ring. Had I didn't notice that Sinclair was there.
I think he just showed up. These scenes are really well done.
It really is, and it does a nice parallel for uh, Jakar's ceremony that he did an episode
That's
or
a
two
good
back.
point. And that's another good example of religion in the show. Yeah, Thomas, I agree with you. This should have been the A story.
Yeah, it would have been neat to see her wrestle with it more. As it is, I think they've given about equal time to the A and B plot, which it could have worked. Um, but I guess they kind of kept rehashing the same point with the A plot.
I mean, this obviously is the A plot just based on the episode title.
Yeah. I guess they're too tired at this point to throw kicks anymore.
That's how I read it too.
I'm guessing this is a photo frame of like Rocky. Was it Rocky 2 that ended that way with them both going in for the punch and then freeze frame? Who really won?
It's been a long time since I watched those films. I don't remember which film did that. He has interesting blood. Looks white.
Rocky 3. Okay, thanks, Texas. It was an ood. Did you see the ood?
That's not an ood.
It looks like an. Oh, you're right. He doesn't have his brain in his hand. Must be a distant cousin.
It's a distinct possibility. And Omni just loves that storyline. And yes, Texas, that's a Pakmara, the ood-looking alien.
Ha! Nice. So Sinclair made a comment about, I'm ready for you to be back. I've had my fill of double shifts, and Ivanova makes a parting shot about, well, hopefully you'll remember that the next time Miss Sakai, his girlfriend,
Sakai.
comes aboard. Lancer's saying that the stream keeps going out in sync for you. I'm sorry. Huh. Miss Lindell is pointing out that, see, I don't know a better word for it either, but there's no ship porn associated with this show. Where, with Star Trek, they do all the shots that really linger on the ships and let everyone maneuver around. You're like, oh, that's the Oberth class. That's the Excelsior class. Whereas apparently no one knows the classes of ships in this show. All right.
Now, twice in this episode, Walker tells Garibaldi to watch his back.
Why?
Well, at the beginning of the episode, Garibaldi almost does get hit in the back.
Oh,
with a weapon.
I heard Sinclair for some reason. You said Garibaldi. My brain heard Sinclair.
Garibaldi.
Yes, Garibaldi.
Garibaldi. And Josh Street says he wants to spoil, but can't spoil things for Matthew.
I appreciate
and Thomas
you
says,
for not.
Finally, it's over.
Hey, so I thought it was a fun episode. I get what Thomas is saying. If you're not a fan of like the Rocky movies or Creed, which is just Rocky redone, I think, then I can see why the A plot wouldn't be the most exciting plotline for you. But I think they did a good job with it. Like, could they have punched it up a little bit? Yes.
Punched it up. Wow.
Thank you. It went in my head, and I said, well, I'm going to say it now.
Nicely done.
Thank you. I do think they could have said, okay, we're going to have this plot line of Garibaldi's friend shows up, Smith, and he's going to want to join this MMA. And the reason for it is well done. He had a shot at the title on Earth for being in boxing, and he was denied that opportunity. And now the leagues were like, oh, he's a washed up and he's a quitter and things like that. And he feels robbed. Great motivation. Strong start. And then they established that humans aren't welcome, and they kind of just stopped there. I feel like every time we came back to that plot line, it was just more of the, well, humans aren't welcome. Yeah, but I really want to. Yeah, but humans aren't welcome. But I really want to. And they kind of just did that. I think if we had a stronger connection to his Mr. Miyagi teacher type person, maybe they could have done more with the plot line. If we could have had some more scenes of him trying to be practicing, him trying to get into it, and facing that like pushback where he's being jumped at a bar maybe, or just something more than, oh, we don't like you, well, my friend doesn't like you either, sort of stuff. I feel like they could have worked with it, but I get Thomas's point that because they didn't do a very active role with developing the plot of the A plot line, it needed work, just little tweaks.
I almost get the impression that they wanted to do the B plot, but there wasn't enough to do a whole episode on it. So they had to come up with something else to include in the episode to fill out the time. So you have these two separate plots that really don't cross, except for the two guest characters to meet each other on the ship on the way to the station. It's really the only connection. The only connection I see with the two plots.
I didn't realize that until you mentioned it. That's something you got to do. Like in every episode, if you have an A and a B plot, there has to be that rejoining point where you get the payoff of the two plot lines.
We really didn't get that here.
And it's one of those things where I'm trying to think of an example of this, but the characters don't always get to know how the A and B plot lines are coming together, but we, the audience, having that third person omniscient view of the plot line, get to be like, oh, that was brought back in, and now it all clicks together.
Right.
Maybe Lower Decks, the A and B plot lines there. I guess the only person who really didn't know how it all came back together was just the one guy ensign, human ensign. That's his name, by the way, human ensign. Ensign.
You've
human
lost
ensign,
me.
To be precise.
You've lost me.
Okay, you know the episode's Lower Deck in TNG.
Yes.
So that was the episode where you had the Bajoran girl who was the security officer under Worf, and Picard wanted her to go on this dangerous mission.
Was it Sito?
Probably. Your guess is so much better than mine on this one.
Yeah. Omni confirms it, Ensign Sito.
And then you had
the
Vulcan working under Geordi. You had, I think, an Asian lady. Was that Nurse Ogawa?
That was Nurse Ogawa. Yep.
All right.
Hey,
wow.
you got one.
I'm floored. And then you had the human who was working under command, under Riker, basically.
Yeah.
And he was the only one who, at the end of the episode, hadn't put the pieces together for what happened to Ensign Sito. Like everyone else
Lavelle was the human.
Lavelle, thank you, John. So he was the only one who didn't get to know. So we, as the audience, got to see how A plot line, B plot line, it all comes together. But he, as a character, didn't know. So, I mean, you can do that in an episode. You can write it such that your characters don't understand how the plot comes together, but we at least need to see how this all comes back together by the end of the episode.
See, you had me a little confused because you said Lower Decks, and my mind went to Boimler and Mariner and that horrible comedy series. That
see, I wouldn't do that to you. I know you're not a fan of it. Its humor works for me, but I wouldn't do that to you.
If you like it, more power to you. I am jealous that you like it. I wish I could like it. I just don't.
I'm able to divorce it just enough from Star Trek to enjoy the humor for what it is. Because I know that's one of your main complaints. Like, this isn't at all Star Trek. It has all the nomenclature.
Yeah, it has the look and feel of Star Trek, but the crew, how did they pass the Academy?
Right. And I understand that complaint. I agree with you. But I'm able to go, I don't care. I appreciate all the little winks they do for the audience. They do a good enough job with the plot line for it to be internally consistent for Lower Decks, but not for Star Trek on the whole. So I'm able to enjoy it and it works for me. But I 100% understand how it absolutely does not work for you. I get it.
And I see where it works for you as well. I get it.
So A plot line could have used a few extra points. B plot line, I really enjoyed.
B plot line was excellent.
I do think it was funny that I got the main two characters right in my guess. I thought it was going to be Garibaldi and Ivanova.
Yeah. And somebody from Ivanova's past.
Yeah. I was wrong about it being Ivanova needing to keep fighting.
Right.
And
well,
ironically,
she kind of did, though. She fought it, and she decided to go through the ceremony.
Yeah, but I was thinking more like she was actually going to be fisticuffing someone.
Ah, okay. Hey, I'm trying to work with you here, Matthew. I'm trying to give you a little credit.
I appreciate that. I give myself no credit. I am cutthroat with myself. And ironically, Garibaldi, it wasn't that he was saying, don't give up, go for the technical knockout. He was actually spending most of his plot line telling his friend to give up, saying don't do it.
Yeah, because he didn't want to get him pulverized in the ring.
So,
but I'm still trying to figure out how they even let that blood sport on the station, or let it stay.
Well, it's organized.
I mean, Garibaldi even gets on his communicator and says, "I've got someone for you to pick up down at the Mutai." He's calling security. I mean, they have to know it's there.
Oh yeah, they definitely do.
It just blows my mind that they even allow it.
I mean, it's really no different than if they have a boxing ring on there. Or... yeah, it's
a little more than that. It's a little more than that because
next week. No,
because they've had fighters die in the ring. I mean, you don't see that too much in boxing.
I don't think you even see it that much in MMA.
No. I believe they had four fighters die.
I guess since it's just a organized sport, they gotta be accommodating to the alien species.
I suppose you have a point there.
I mean, and he did stop the assassination attempt. Like,
yeah, but that wasn't part of the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And he was a very good chadich, although that's not the term that they used.
Hey, Steinwins, how you doing, man? He's saying that more plot about the guy who tried to shoot Smith would have been good. Yeah. So they had stuff to work with that they could have tied this together.
One more thing about
Oh, go ahead.
One more thing about Walker Smith. I found this very interesting. The actor that played him, his name was Gregory McKinney. He actually died a few years after this episode was produced, April 12th, 1998. Of course, Sugar Ray Robinson, who his real name was Walker Smith, died on April 12th, 1989, same day of the year.
Yeah, and Mr. Lindell is pointing out that boxers have died in the ring as well. I want to say, I mean, you're right, and that's why they started to implement rule changes like no barehanded boxing, and
right.
you got to use more gloves because you're less likely to. I want to say like this is stuff where, I watched a video on it years ago and I probably get half my remembrances wrong, but I want to say that one of the reasons they implemented boxing gloves is precisely because they were worried about the way it would break the bones when you did barehanded fighting. Something about the glove makes it more. I guess it makes sense scientifically. Like a glove takes the fist area and spreads it out across an entire glove, so you don't have the concentrated hit.
Yeah.
More about
Yeah,
bruising,
good
less
point.
about breaking. Josh wants to know
Josh,
if Matthew has been to Down Below yet.
personally, has Matthew gone down below?
Are you talking about the
I
Doctor Who episode, The Beast Below?
No. There are parts of the station called Down Below. It's kind of where the homeless are.
The first episode, they
I
chased the
I
changeling down there, didn't they?
well, also I think the the Soul Hunter episode we saw Down Below,
And
also
the
known as
episode,
Downtown. Yes, Omni. Spoilers.
the episode with Garibaldi being drunk again. When
Yes,
he,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
that's. I'm pretty sure it was Down Below.
So we haven't like focused in on it, but we passed through.
But I wasn't sure if Josh was asking if you personally had gone down below.
But like Australia,
Perhaps. I don't know.
we gotta have Bird of Prey or Allsy of Prey in chat if we're gonna talk about Australia.
Aussie, definitely. Yes. Oi!
Boy, I'm Allsy of Prey. Okay, so the B plot. The plot was fantastic.
I
And we
agree.
talked about this as it was going on, but just the reality of that situation, they did such a good job capturing it. Just reality of how grown-ups can let life affect them, and as they're being affected by it, it's affecting their kids, and uh, then their kids are letting that affect the way they treat their parents right back. And you get to that point where you realize you've been wrong, you try to apologize, and there's too much trauma and baggage to instantly be able to forgive someone. It all landed for me. Great job. My one critique is her repentance at the end was kind of like a switch went off. And it's like, hey, we got, like, we knew she was going to come to the point where she was going to have this ceremony. But just like he's in line, she said no, she thinks one more time and flips it to a yes. That's my one tiny critique. Like I think I would have preferred her saying no and then spend that night thinking about it and mulling it over, and that's where we get the flashback. And then she wakes up the next day, he's leaving, and she runs and grabs him, and that's when she says, please stay. I think that would have been just slightly paced better.
I could see that. Although
But to be
I
fair,
go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to say I've been in that kind of situation, not that exact situation, but where at the very last second I changed my mind. So I can see that being realistic.
Fair point. Fair point. I am thinking more like just plot pacing wise.
Yeah,
How
I
does it
get
work
that.
as a story?
I
But
get
you're
that.
right. I mean, people certainly do have last moment mind changes.
Change. Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So I
and
see
I
your
was gonna
point,
say,
and I think it could work better that way.
and I was gonna say to be fair for the writers, they were having to balance the A plot. So anytime you finish a B plot scene, you need to check in with the A plot.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Or
you
vice
really
versa.
can't go from her thinking about it to her waking up the next morning. Like you have to have that transition there. Thomas.
Thomas would rather watch Dolores looking for new shoes than boxing. Not quite sure I'm following you, Thomas.
I think he's saying he really appreciates boxing. It's hard to tell. He's being kind of guarded with his opinion.
Yeah.
And then one other thing I do like about the B plot line is how she gets to the end of it and just starts crying. That by talking about this, hashing it over the memories, remembering the good times, she's able to get to a point where she's really forgiven him. And once she has forgiven him, the emotions just come bursting forth. And I really like that because I often say that funerals aren't for the dead. You know, we remember the dead in a funeral, but a funeral is for the living. There's time for us to gather together and process this.
You are exactly spot on with that. And John says the B story definitely deserved more time for development.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I don't know how I could have gotten the A and B stories to organically join at the end. Like, I've been trying to think, like, okay, yeah, Jeff is right. They didn't join. How can I make them join? I got nothing.
Yeah, it's almost like it was one story and they said, well, we don't have enough to fill an entire episode, so let's put another story in there too.
But I do think they could have decreased the amount of time we spent with the A story and given us a little more time with the B story.
I would have liked that better.
Yeah. And yeah, John, I've also never been too big of a fan of boxing story either's.
I'm not a big fan of those stories. Sorry,
That
Omni.
said, I did enjoy Rocky. But that's about it.
And I like the Karate Kid.
I did enjoy the Karate Kid a lot. You know, I even enjoyed
that was a good film.
The what's Will Smith's son name? Jaden? Or is that the wife's name? Jaden Pinkett?
I don't keep track of Hollywood stars. Mr. Londell says he thinks that the A story was too short. Interesting.
Rocky's a romance movie. Okay, well, there's a lot of boxing. Fair enough. But I was asking about Smith's son because
I'm not sure what his name is.
Did a Karate Kid remake with Jackie Chan.
Oh, okay.
And I think it was actually one of the few remakes that worked well. Like, they didn't try to pretend like he was like, oh, this is Daniel's son. It's just now he's a black kid living in Japan. I think they had to move actually to Japan or China. I forget where they moved him to. Yeah. China.
I liked the first movie so much I didn't want to see a remake. I didn't want it ruined.
I mean, it was a remake, but at the same time, it felt more like a what's the word? Heavily inspired.
Okay.
They did a good job. I guess for me, there was one scene where you dealt with Mr. Miyagi's trauma that really sold the movie for me. Like, it's the linchpin for the entire movie, and they did a good job selling me on that one scene. Where the rest of it works. But I do love the original Karate Kid. That was
Great film. Great film.
And they actually remade it kind of once before with a lady, a young miss.
Wasn't it the next Karate Kid? Isn't that what they called that one?
I think so. Anyway, any final thoughts about this episode, Jeff?
It was very good for Ivanova. I thought it was a lot of good character development. We hadn't seen a whole lot of development for her character. She got a lot to do. She acted it extremely well. As far as the A plot, I could have done without it. And spoiler alert, I will say the A plot has no relevance to the rest of the show. At least in my opinion. Omni may differ with me on that.
No, darling, no.
Thank you, Will Smith, for the tip. He said, "Keep my wife's name out of your expletive mouth."
Oh, wow. I didn't know Will Smith was watching the show.
I didn't know either. I'm humbled.
Yeah.
And also relieved that I'm not physically in the room with him, so I didn't get slapped.
You better watch your back.
Yeah, better watch my back. And Memphis says, no, I actually haven't seen the Cobra Kai TV series.
I've heard that's excellent, and I keep meaning to watch it. It's on was it Netflix?
I think so.
I don't have Netflix, so I haven't watched it. Mr. Lundell says that he differs with me. The A plot was just one of the things happening on the station. It definitely happened on the station. I'll give you that.
So, next week, we are watching Grail. Yes, Josh, what's my wrong prediction for the next episode? Okay, Grail. Obviously, we are going to have an episode where Indiana Jones shows up on the station. Excuse me, no, this is gonna it's Vash. The Vash character is gonna show up on the station. She's our
Vash, okay.
She's our sci-fi Indiana Jones character. It's gonna be a character that is clearly
hopping
who
universes
Vash was stolen by, you know. It's Babylon 5 did it first, so it's a character that the makers of TNG looked at and said, hey, we need to make a female version of this character for Picard to have a little thing with. So it's going to be that character.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah. Perfect guess right there. Why pontificate upon it any further? And if it's not Indiana Jones, if it's not Vash, it's going to be the National Treasure guy, whoever Nicolas Cage played.
Okay.
Okay, what's Grail going to be about? I think that this is going to be an episode focused on a holy object of
the object
of an object that seems to have mystical properties. And I'm going to go back to the well for this one of guessing that this is about that highest tier of aliens that I've been talking about on my tier list. We got the League of Affiliated Nations, we got humans, we got Mbari, and then we got those Shadow and Light ships that we've seen. So I think it's going to be some piece of technology from that highest race of aliens that we've seen. And people are taking this and worshiping it like a grail, or at least performing religion around it. Kind of like the episode of TNG where Data came down to the backwards planet. He was trying to get all the radioactive pieces of metal, and then lost his memory, and people were using this as decoratives and stuff. So I could see it be something like that, where we have a piece of technology and it can do miraculous things. I mean, imagine if in the Dark Ages, you had an unending supply of penicillin in a bottle, and people well, this is a holy object. Whenever you get sick, you take one of these once a day and you're better. Well, it's this holy grail type object. So that's what I think we're going to see. Something where people are building up religion around some high piece of technology.
Interesting. I guess we'll find out in a week, huh?
Yeah. And yeah, Thomas, maybe Noah's Ark is found floating in space. Well,
It's
guys,
a distinct possibility.
thank you so much for hanging out with Jeff and I tonight. And I look forward to seeing all of y'all next week for episode 15, Grail.
John says maybe Sinclair's dad shows up and he's played by Sean Connery.
If only, man. If only. All right, everyone. Y'all take care.
Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will. And be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.